Hello, my name is METİN Arıdaşır. This is 161st part of explanation of my theory. According to my theory and my formulas, subatomic level respiration of life, proton-bound electrons expanding, shrinking, light pulsing mechanism. 1. Only free electron motion forms can produce and propagate successive waves. These successive waves affect us as continuous spectrum light. This is continuous, spectrum. Or this is continuous spectrum, like black body radiation. This is characteristic, the characteristic lines, emission lines or absorption lines. Okay. I advise you to watch my former videos. Two types of light. First, only free electron motion forms can produce and propagate successive waves. These successive waves affect us as continuous spectrum light, as first, second, third, etc. connected cycles through the eternity, and each cycle's linear velocity is equal to cycle number, wave number, multiplied by 1,884,000 km per second. N is wave number. 2. Proton-bound electron motion forms maintain their cycling motion by making joint motion with protons axis, but they stay at only their first cycle. They stay in their in-balance motion position at a certain peculiar wavelength radius. In this case, proton-bound electron motion forms cannot produce single-wave pulses. Single-wave pulse affect us as emission light, which represented by characteristic spectral lines. They cannot emit any kind of light spontaneously, proton-bound electron motion forms. Unless they coincide and interact with effective successive waves of free electron motion forms, they can never produce single wave pulse. They can never affect us as emitted characteristic light. In this case, there is no heat, there is no temperature. In this case, there is absolute coldness, absolute cold. In this case, in spite of proton-bound electron motion forms were maintained their joint first cycle motion, which they were shared with protons, in imbalanced position. I'm so sorry. In this case, in spite of proton-bound electron motion forms were maintained their joint first cycle motion, which they were shared with protons, in imbalance position, in spite of proton-bound electron motion forms, were being in motion in meta-sensation perception matter. In spite of meta-sensation perception matter was not stay motionless, always it has motion forms, regular motion forms. In spite of meta-sensation perception matter was save its intrinsic cyclical motion forms, there wouldn't be life experiences. There wouldn't be life experiences. There wouldn't be heat, temperature, and colors. There wouldn't be subjective reality that we share with all living species, perhaps even with all interacting objects. There wouldn't be life. Only successive waves of free electron motion forms. 3. Only successive waves of free electron motion forms can make proton-bound electron motion forms respire, except adiabatic mediums change in meta-sensation perception matter. Only free electron motion forms, successive waves, can make proton-bound electron motion forms expand. Only free electron motion forms, successive waves, can make proton-bound electron motion forms expand, enlarge, and when these successive waves partly or completely vanish, proton-bound electron motion forms shrink again at certain levels that I put forth completely and mathematically and in formulation. When these successive waves partly or completely vanish, when these successive waves partly or completely vanish, proton-bound electron motion forms shrink again. While shrinking, they pull and push out single wave pulses. Emission light lines. Okay? Our heat, temperature, colors experiences, our living experiences come from these interaction between free electron motion forms, successive waves, and proton-bound electron motion forms. We need the sun. We need free electron motion forms. We need free electron motion forms, successive waves. Have a good evening. Have a good afternoon. See you later.